please raise your hand. When we call on you, if you would, please stand up and try to project the question, because we don't have mics for the audience. It's too tough to run all around. And we can get more questions answered doing it this way.
In other words, speak up, please.
Exactly. Okay, right here.
For everyone, do you have any on-set funny stories with Fred Quinn?
I'll take this. I don't know if it's a funny story, but I don't know if anybody realizes this, but early on during the film, the first couple of weeks, there were some troubles on the set. And actually, the camera crew was fired, the whole electrical department was fired, and Paramount was not happy with what they were seeing. So fingers were pointed, and all I know is one night there was a scene on a porch with Fred and I, and we were sitting there, and I was just going, "What's going on, Fred? Nobody seems to be happy." And Fred just said, "You know what, kid, you're doing fine. Fuck 'em."
I remember having the golden opportunity to have a wonderful meal at Fred's house with his wife, invited to his house, and he really illuminated a lot for me about what it was to have been an actor in a different era than myself, and to be, a star of television at a different time, and how difficult it had been for him, and the different ups and downs he had weathered, and how his amazing ability to hang in there and not give up and be who he was, and be able to go through stardom at the greatest heights of television to an immediate unemployment of the greatest degree, where he was unhireable after the Munsters, and then before that, Car 54. So he had lived a number of lives by the time he had come to Pet Sematary, and we were so lucky to have this man present with us, this person who had really lived a life in theater and television and film, and give us some wisdom and tell us that it really is about your craft. Your craft.
Well, can I say something, segueing right from that? He always does this to me. He's been doing it to me years and years. Speaking of craft, one night, I never had any scenes with Fred, but we would often talk on the set. And one night I said, "Well, how'd it go yesterday?" And he said, "Oh, well, I had a scene with Dale. And I had to, get kind of emotionally worked up, and it was a scene where he kind of cries and takes responsibility for everything that's happening. And he said, "Well," I said, "How'd it go?" And he said, "Oh, well, it wasn't happening. I wasn't feeling it. It just wasn't. Couldn't get the tears going. I was drying up." And I said, "What'd you do?" And he said, "Well, finally," and this is where the craft part comes in. All right. He said, "Finally, went outside, drank 3 cups of coffee, and smoked 10 cigarettes, and it was right there. See, you all think it's complicated what us actors do, but it's not at all.
It's about coffee.
Okay, who else has a question? Right here.
This question for the whole cast. I was wondering how it was with Stephen King being on the set all the time.
I think MIKO should answer that.
Specifically, I remember Fred more than Stephen. Fortunately, I was able to get a copy of the book signed from Stephen, but specific memories of meeting him and being with him, unfortunately, I wasn't able to hang on to. But So there's a lot of people in here. No, Fred actually, on the topic of Fred, a lot of people don't know this. He wrote children's books, and he was a really good illustrator. And I have a couple of copies that he gave me of really weird drawings of like pigeons with heads of toads and like really obscure. It was cool. Like
Pigeon toad.
Pigeon toad.
Yeah.
Really cool.
There's a
kids'
word
books.
for this, where you take phrases.
One word is, yeah.
Multiple
Yeah,
meanings.
but not-
Or, yeah,
It's
a
not
conglomeration,
what it, yeah, and if anyone can come up with it, please.
Something.
What is it?
Maybe.
Are they?
We're all sorry.
You're right. Yes. Sorry, my education was public, so it didn't go. But on that note, yes.
But as far as what, you want to, Stephen King? I actually recall the first,
No.
keep Googling, guys, you're getting close.
Homonym. I take homonyms for 10.
But I remember Stephen King at the first cast reading, and he showed up and we were all a bit nervous about meeting Mr. King. But he sat there and he was smoking at the time and he drank Jolt. I don't know if you know this.
Jolt?
Yeah, it's like 3 times the caffeine, 5 times the sugar of any soda on the planet, But he drank 3 or 4 of them as he was sitting there. And I guess he did this just to shock us, but he read out loud from the obituaries, during the process. And that's what I remember most about Stephen.
Wow, that's, yeah.
And he was very, very nice, very genuine. We talked about his radio station and his,
Rock and roll.
and all his rock and roll. And he wasn't around all the time, but when he was on set, obviously he was a presence.
And he played a part in it. Remember, he was the
Reverend.
minister, the Reverend. Yeah. And I remember his belt buckle. He had this major, like, skull and crossbones belt
He had
buckle.
the chains and the
Yeah,
wallet.
yeah. He was like really,
And he
heavy
didn't have a
metal.
motorcycle, I didn't get it. So.
And didn't he invite us to his house, remember, for dinner?
He didn't invite me.
Oh, stop. He kept talking about, you guys have got to come for dinner, and he lives in Bangor. And his house looks like the Addams Family house. I mean, it's wrought iron with, this gauze spider webs and, bats on the thing. And we just said, thank you, but it's okay. We're gonna go to, the Burger King or something.